Good morning, everyone. I hope that in this special period, everything goes well for all of you. Today, I will introduce the invention of compass in ancient China to you. My presentation consists of two parts, the history and its application. Well, now let's begin. In ancient China, people found out that when a lodestone, a naturally magnetized ore of iron, is hung or placed so that it can rotate freely, will always point at the same direction. In this way, the compass was created to identify the direction. According to records, the first compass was invented in China during the Han Dynasty, between the 2nd century BC and the 1st century AD. Its name was Sinan, which means that it could be used to identify the south. At that time, Sinan was made of lodestone, a particular form of the mineral magnetite. The lodestone was made into the shape of a ladle. The long handle of the ladle was made by the south pole of the magnet. The magnetic ladle was placed on a smooth plate made of bronze which had the size of the word marked on it. When the magnetic ladle stopped rotating on the plate, the handle pointed south. This is the earliest magnetic instrument in the world to identify the direction. However, the processing of the lodestone was pretty complicated and the accuracy of Sinan was not very good. Several centuries later, people found that steel or iron could be magnetized when rubbed against magnetite, and it would acquire the same properties as magnetite. In order to simplify the manufacturing and reduce size, compasses were then made of magnetized iron instead of lodestone. There were many kinds of compasses made in this way. One of them was called south-pointing fish, invented in the Southern Song Dynasty, which was made of magnetized iron sheet in the shape of a fish. It could float in a bowl of water and point south. This kind of compass was more convenient than Sinan because it was smaller and there was no need for the smooth plate. Besides, since the friction of liquid is smaller than that of solid, it rotates more flexibly, which means it's more sensitive and accurate than Sinan. Later was invented the south-pointing turtle in the Southern Song Dynasty. It was a type of dry compass. Its main part was a wooden turtle which had a lodestone in it fixed with wax and had a needle sticking out. Wooden turtle balanced on a bamboo needle which allowed it to rotate freely and the needle pointed north. There was another kind of liquid compass called luopan invented by Yang. The liquid compass has its needle immersed in liquid that holds it always in horizontal position and dampens shock and vibration. The dry form was invented in Europe in 14th century and was then introduced to China. It was standard compass placed in 3 ring gimbals which held compass in horizontal position. After an introduction of the history to you, I will talk something about the application. Actually, in the very early time, the compasses invented in ancient China were not all used to identify the direction. Some of the compasses invented in China were used for feng shui, which means divination and geomancy. For example, people used it to search for gems and to select sites for houses. The inventor of luopan, Yang, was a master of feng shui. According to ancient books and ancient paintings, in ancient China, compasses were also used for sacrifices and rituals. compasses in ancient China were also used for amusements. For example, according to records, the south-pointing turtle was used to perform conjuring tricks in Song Dynasty. It was regarded as an amazing magic at that time. It was not until the 11th century that the compass was used for navigation, first on land and then on water. Somewhere between 12th and 13th century, compass arrived in Europe in both dry and floating forms. The compass prolonged sailing season, which was earlier between October and April and relied on the clear sky, to the whole year, which in return resulted in a gradual but sustained increase in shipping movement. Well, that's all. I hope that you could learn something about the compass invented in ancient China, and thank you for your attention.